We're live to YouTube.
Yeah, good neighbors. Exactly. Mhm.
He didn't tell you? He sent a message. Mayor, he was driving his in-law.
Oh, yeah, he's, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. Live. All right, we will call the meeting to order. Welcome, bienvenue, Yanin. I'd like to begin our meetings in a good way by acknowledging with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the traditional territory known as Bawating, which is home to Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. I'd like to thank our media and broadcast partners for covering today's meeting. Madam Clerk.
Under agenda item 2, I have a motion by councillors Zagordo and Hollingsworth resolved that minutes of regular council meeting of July 14, 2025 be approved.
All in favor? Carries.
And under pecuniary interest, Councillor Bezo Allen declared with respect to agenda item 7.9.
Any other conflicts, Council? Councillor Gardy?
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna declare a conflict on the YMCA stuff at 711, just because I'm a member there.
Okay, thank you. Any other counselors? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk.
A motion by Councillors Caputo and Spina resolved that the agenda for August 11, 2025 City Council meeting as presented be approved.
All in favor? That carries.
And before we get to the regular agenda, there is a planning item, application A725Z, housekeeping amendments. I have a motion by Councillors Segordo and Hollingsworth. Resolved that the report of the junior planner dated August 11, 2025 concerning city-initiated Planning Act application A725Z, housekeeping amendments be received, and that council approve the housekeeping amendments listed in Appendix A, and that the legal department be requested to prepare the necessary bylaws to effect the same.
Mr. Tenazzo, there's a bunch of different things in here, so I won't ask you to summarize what those are, but if you could just maybe give us a high-level overview of what the department's asking for generally.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Shoemaker. So this is the first of 3 installments of minor amendments that council will see in the coming months. This one, there's 8 text amendments that apply to the entire community and 1 site-specific amendment that applies to a portion of the Fox Run subdivision. The nature of the proposed amendments is to clarify the overall intent of the various provisions or to respond to emerging or new development trends that we're seeing. The site-specific amendment fixes an error basically to permit a single detached dwelling or to permit single detached dwellings within a specific part of the Fox Run subdivision, which is intended to be developed with single detached dwellings or residential structures with 1 unit as we currently define them. The recommendation is to approve, and I'm available should council have any questions. Thank you.
Council questions? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the amendments? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the amendments? Okay, seeing none, we're going to vote on that matter. All in favor? That carries.
And that will bring us to agenda item 6.1, the Fleet Management Services Report. Nathan Belaski is in attendance.
Welcome to council, Mr. Belaski. And I'll pass it over to Mr. Vera for some opening comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to council. Staff has been working to look at how we can better manage our light-duty fleet. Over the course of the last year, we have been exploring solutions and working with Enterprise Fleet Management. And we believe it's an opportunity for the city to modernize and improve the way it manages its fleet. Also, will help us to take advantage of the expertise that Enterprise brings to the table in managing large fleets, and also ultimately save money for the corporation. And so myself, Deputy CAO Brent Lamming, Deputy CAO Susan Hamilton Beach, and Shelley Shell have been working as a committee to review the solutions. There was an LAS canoe procurement, and we are recommending to proceed with Enterprise. And Nathan Belaski is here with us today to provide an overview for council of their solution and how it would be tailored to Sault Ste. Marie. Nathan.
Thank you, Tom. Mayor Shoemaker, councilors, staff, thank you for giving me some of your time this afternoon. My name is Nathan. I'm a client strategy manager for Enterprise Fleet Management Canada and a fellow Northerner. I just live in Sudbury. And I'm coming to you through the awarded tender, as Tom mentioned, through LAS, AMO, and the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada, vetted to provide professional fleet management services to municipalities across Ontario. Fleets become a very expensive line item as it pertains to capital and operating budgets for municipalities. And that's because since the COVID aftermath, we've seen prices of new vehicles climb north of 50%, along with operating expenses in the similar range of about 40% during that same time. Of course, the issues with that is budgets don't quite keep up with the same increases. And so a lot of municipalities have to make the decision to either defer replacing some of the older vehicles in the older fleet, which of course drives up operating expenses if that's the decision, along with that it also adds to the overall replacement pile of vehicles that needs to be happening. As well as the other option is, of course, to dip into reserves and to look at dipping into those reserves to replace the same amount of vehicles. We currently partner with about 50 municipalities across Ontario, and we've seen some fantastic results, lowering overall costs, stretching the budget to do a lot more for less, and providing a lot of administrative support. And being that we're the largest fleet owner in North America with over 2.3 million vehicles of our own, we bring a great deal of expertise as well to all things fleet. And we become essentially your bolt-on fleet department. And as Tom mentioned, what's brought us here today is a culmination of working over the last 8 or 9 months with several staff members that have already been named to really do a deep dive into your fleet and understand your costs, understand your processes, the life cycle, aftermarket requirements, and take all that and compare that to what you're doing today to what it would look like if you were working, if we were working for you. So I'd like to very quickly go through that with you. Starting on page 2 of this report, you can see that about 59 of your light-duty vehicles are older than 10 years. And based on today's current acquisition rates, it would take you about 19 years to replace your current light-duty fleet. The challenge there is vehicles don't last 19 years. And so it's an uphill battle funding replacements. Our model is a little bit different, where we look at the overall life cycle of a vehicle and we include all of the costs from capital to operating. We put it all together, and in your particular application, we're able to recognize there's an optimal time to cycle out of that vehicle, which is going to keep your costs at the absolute lowest. When we applied this model in our comprehensive analysis, we could save the city over $1.1 million over 10 years. Looking over at the next page is really just your fleet makeup, the existing fleet makeup that you currently have. But page 4 is of particular interest because as a bolt-on fleet department to the city of Sault Ste. Marie, we provide you with a dedicated fleet team working on your behalf in all aspects of areas of fleet like maintenance, aftermarket equipment, logistics, licensing, titling, acquisition. We essentially can handle it all. And we leverage our resources to help buy these vehicles for you through local dealerships at the lowest price and making sure you get your government incentives, working with local maintenance and repair facilities to maintain them. And then by using our remarketing teams, which we have operations in every major region, including Northern Ontario, we sell them on your behalf at the best price. We also look at the right vehicle for the job, and that's really what we're looking at here on this page, where we have the ability to capture all of the costs, both again, capital and operating, and compare all the manufacturers without bias. Because of our size and scale, we work with every single manufacturer. And we boil them all down to a very simple cost per kilometer. This way we can make recommendations on the lowest cost vehicle, and we evaluate that and reevaluate that every single year as changes happen, as they've been changing quite a bit every year. This also, through this lens, we have the ability to not just look at current gas or internal combustion vehicles, but we can look at hybrids, EVs, and really provide your team and your staff consultation on the right path forward, balancing both cost and the city and the needs of the city. We recognize that there are still a lot of challenges when it comes to infrastructure as it relates to EVs. However, over time, we expect to be able to transition the entire fleet over to meet with some of your green mandates, like we have been spotlighted working with the City of Kingston in the Green Municipal Fund for lowering their greenhouse gas emissions. The great news, though, is you don't have to go completely green to realize GHG emission reductions. There's a lot of course, hybrid options, but we even have, just with the simple technology advancements, if you take a very simple 10-year-old pickup truck compared to the exact same pickup truck today, you're seeing about a 1.3 metric ton of emission reduction on the exact same vehicle, just with a lot of the newer technologies. We like to consider ourselves very friendly backseat drivers that give you recommendations and support your city's initiatives and goals, but ultimately your staff's making the decisions, and we're here to help execute those decisions while keeping the business local here in Sault Ste. Marie. So finally on this fifth page, we can see the analysis outcome, where we take 5 years to transition the fleet over to our model, and then we show another 5 years fully implemented, showing the substantial savings available. Additional to that, we bring state-of-the-art technology like we've been using with other municipalities to help provide a lot of data, greater control and visibility, which ultimately means the best in decision-making. With that, I'd like to welcome the opportunity to work with your team and be a valued long-term partner of City of Sault Ste. Marie, like we have with so many others in Ontario. Now, I know that I've just met a lot of you, but I've managed to squeeze about 12 hours of meetings in that 5 minutes, so I'm sure you have some questions.
Council questions? Councillor Vezoellen?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for Mr. Vera. Mr. Vera, what is the administrative cost for us to go with the fleet management system? Sorry, I didn't ask prior.
Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Vezoellen. Excuse me, there is no set administrative cost. It's really baked into the services that Enterprise provides and the vehicles that they'll be purchasing for the city. Commission on the sale of the vehicles, so that's folded into the cost, the ongoing cost of the service for the fleet management.
Okay, so there's like a service fee put into each transaction in terms of managing the fleet, rather than one big lump sum payment for consulting services or whatever you want to, admin services. Okay. My question is for Mr. Blasky. I really appreciate the fact that you use local vendors. I think that's really important. In terms of the timeline, so you're saying the transition will take probably about 10 years. Is that based on the current fleet and leasing agreements and things like that? Is that what the timeline is being dictated by?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor, the timeline is really dictated by a lot of factors. On paper, we're looking at transitioning the fleet over about 5 years. But
Okay.
a good example, of course, COVID being something that changes everything. So we reevaluate it every year. But on paper, we're looking at a 5-year transitional period to transition the fleet over.
Okay. And what other northern communities have you worked with? I'm just thinking about in terms of wear and tear with fleet and bringing in EV with our extreme winters. So looking at how can that possibly affect the length of the service of a vehicle. What other northern communities have you worked with?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor again. Councillor, we work with City of Elliott Lake. We work with Town of Cochrane, Municipality of Greenstone, Timiskaming Shores, Town of Parry Sound. There's a few.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Councillor Vezoellen. Councillor Hollingsworth?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Just wondering, actually through to our guest presenter. With regards to the cost that you've outlined it, so there's no other hidden costs, kind of building on to my partner here, Councillor Lisa Vezoellen. So if we want to create our own, like our brand, like put Sault Ste. Marie logo on it, that is still covered under all this lease agreement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor, all of the costs are baked into that analysis that is on page 5 of that report. There's no hidden costs or any additional costs that would be in there. In fact, our goal is to save you money in every aspect anytime it comes to anything related to your vehicle. So in the case of your question of decaling or any aftermarket costs, our goal is to hopefully save you a few dollars on that same exact work by using, again, the same local vendors through the scale that we have in our buying power.
Okay. And so just to clarify, obviously, heaven forbid, if something happens with one of the fleet cars or whatever, trucks, you would just take care of it and replace it without question, so we can carry on our day-to-day business?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's Councillor, it's very similar to if it was one of your own existing vehicles the way it was today. It would be through insurance, and of course it gets a little complicated when it gets into insurance. But essentially, the vehicles are no different than the existing vehicles that you guys are using today. There would be the exact same situation. If that particular situation happened, it would be actually identical in both.
Okay. And I mean, your company is well-known, well-respected. So my final question, just looking at your fleet synopsis and summary here, I think I heard you say that over 10 years, we are looking at about 1.1 million in savings. Is that correct? Over 10 years?
That's correct.
Okay. And thank you to Mr. Vare, if I may, through you, Mayor. Mr. Vare, can you just remind us, if we hypothetically did not go with this, could you give us an idea of how much it would cost us? Just a rough estimate if we were going to start replacing the suggested fleet.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth. I don't know if I have that number right in front of me. We did certainly do some analysis and modeling
Okay.
with our statistics, or sorry, our analytics on our current fleet. And I think the, part of it is basically the upfront capital cost for buying all those vehicles. And as Nathan mentioned, our current replacement cycle would have us about 19 years out to do the same. So using this essentially a funding mechanism for our vehicles through the leasing, it allows us to really accelerate the replacement of those vehicles and allows us to get that modernized fleet.
Okay. And last final question. If we go ahead with this, it sounds like you want to move on this quite quickly. And are you concerned about any impact from tariffs or anything of such nature of that?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, it's a good question. I think, the reality is no matter what we do, we're going to be facing those tariffs, right? I think the cost savings analysis that we've done with Enterprise, but also some of the qualitative factors in that working with Enterprise, allowing us to make sure we're taking advantage of all government incentives, receiving some guidance on the types of vehicles, and also the insights into the resale value and the better vehicles to buy in order to have a better or higher resale value. A number of those factors all combine to have us support this, and we think it's the right way for the city to go, and really, again, improve and modernize how we manage our light-duty fleet.
Okay, I apologize. You just jarred one more question. When you're looking at the best vehicles, we always want to buy Canadian. We always definitely want to try to support our local steel and our local autos, which is great. We're going to be buying from local. But knowing that some brands like Ford is made, in Southern Ontario and so forth, are you just going to stay open to all vehicles, or are you going to try to focus more on the Canadian side, or is it hard to say?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, working with Enterprise, we have the flexibility to buy whichever vehicle that we want. Obviously, we want to take advantage of their expertise and their cost analysis for different vehicles. And I think that's something that will evolve over time and certainly something that staff can consider when they're looking at vehicles to purchase.
Okay, thank you. And I know that you and the mayor and the whole team are definitely looking pro-Canadian, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Other councillors with questions? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would that bring us to a vote on 8.1.1?
There are associated bylaws that will be read with them, but there's also a motion by Councillors Zagordo and Spina. Resolved that the report of the CAO dated August 11, 2025 regarding fleet management services be received, and that council authorize staff to enter into an agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management with the estimated required levy increase and reserve reallocations included in future budgets. Further, that council authorize staff to proceed with the purchase of electric vehicles to maximize current charging infrastructure, and then purchase internal combustion engines or hybrid vehicles until such time as charging infrastructure can accommodate the conversion to an all-electric fleet of light-duty vehicles. Further, that the revenue from the sale of vehicles at the end of the lease be invested back into the assets of the division or department.
All in favor, council? Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you, Mr. Belaski.
Okay. And that will bring us to consent. And I've got a few items accepted from consent. I was asked to pull 7.8, the RFP for tabulators, 7.9 on account of Councillor Bezo Allen's conflict, 7.11 on account of Councillor Gardy's conflict, and 7.5, the second quarter financials. I understand there may be another motion.
Okay, so consent items, Councillor Hollingsworth?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, just if I can start with 7.15 sensory playground.
Yep, go ahead.
It's more just a positive comment. Again, working on the advisory committee, accessibility committee with Councillor Lisa Bezo, and I think this is, again, great to see on the agenda. And if there's anything that we can do to continue to push this forward and other ideas like this, I welcome it.
Councillors with the 7:15, on 7:15, Councillor Gardy? Then Councillor Bezo.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, make note of the pretty extensive consultation that staff did in regard to this playground to get input from the community and different stakeholders. The Manzo Park has become a bit more of a destination over the last little while with the installation of the splash pad. I've been making it a point to pass by on hot days this summer, and it's been pretty darn busy, which is great to see. It was also nice to see that they secured some funding. I think it was $125,000. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to, who am I putting this to? Travis, to Mr. Anderson, excuse me. Do we have a sense of, Travis, what it would cost above and beyond the $125,000?
Probably Ms. Maione, I suspect.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gardy, there will be a budget request. We believe the total will be over $500,000, and we do have $125,000 in funding. So it'll be looking to be just over $400,000 for a budget request estimated in that area.
Great. So hopefully, through this endeavor, maybe we'll have some private sector partners who are interested in helping out. There are a lot of larger and smaller businesses in the West End, and there are a lot of prominent business people in the community who got their start in the West End. So maybe they'd be willing to sponsor an element of the park or parts of it. So I'll just put that out there. Thanks.
Councillor Gardy. Councillor Bezo Allen on 7:15.
I just want to thank Ms. McLeod and Ms. Morel for doing the grant application, and it was successful, and they do really work well together in tandem. My comment is just on the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee report, which I think really speaks to how our young people are becoming inclusive on their own without adult intervention, which is not necessary. And I led a program many years ago called Peer to Peer. I like numbers, so it was peer, number 2, peer. And super happy to, and it was pairing young students with other students that needed assistance. It was in the classroom, it was in extracurricular, it was out in the community. So I would be super happy to present to MIAC what that model looked like. It got an innovation award, and I was just elated to see the letter from MIAC, and it just shows that we as a community are really growing, and our young people I think will be much more outstanding than some of us are, and that's what you want. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bezo Allen. Other councillors on 7:15? I just also wanted to draw attention to the MIAC feedback that was provided. It was really well thought out and important contribution to the agenda. So congratulations to Alexandra. Okay, Councillor Hollingsworth, other items on consent?
7.16, basically the community development and green initiatives. Through you, Mayor, to Miss Emily Cormier. It's always great to see you. There's so many wonderful initiatives that are happening around green initiatives. And I just have a few questions about the floating wetland. The floating wetland, is this similar to what my colleague, Councillor Sunny Spina, initiated, where if there is some pollutants in the water, it's captured by the vacuum? Or is this a floating wetland where it's similar to what you see down in the Music Festival Garden in the Toronto area, where you have vegetation and it's basically secured in, like, sometimes in a round tire or sometimes in a square type of shape? Can you define, please?
The project that was brought forward, I believe it was called, it wasn't a Lita trap. It was, what Councillor Spina brought forward was a piece of equipment, technology that essentially it acts like a vacuum that sucks out, microplastics, trash, etc., from the body of water. This is, I'm not exactly familiar with what you're talking about in Toronto, but this floating wetland aligns with what you just defined. It's essentially a receptacle that will be anchored to the wall, and the plants will grow in there, filtering out pollutants from the water.
Okay. And help me understand, you're hoping to have this pilot up and running for next year?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously you put it in roughly in the springtime and pull it out before the winter starts. How does that work?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, there is no need to remove it from the water.
Okay. And so right now, how long, again, will the pilot run for?
At this time, in perpetuity. We're hoping to see how it works. Of course, if there's problems, we'll assess them as they arise. There is interest from other city departments to consider it in other areas as well.
Okay. And being the chair of the Conservation Authority, which is also part of the watershed group, if there's anything we can do to help to do this partnership, to expand it, please let us know.
Will do.
Thank you. That's all.
Anyone else on 716? Okay, Councillor Hollingsworth, other items on consent?
Yes, 7.18, city share tourism expenditures 2025. To, I believe it's Mr. Anderson. First, if I can start with a comment and then into questions. It's always exciting to see basically some development, obviously, around tourism. There's so many, again, great ideas. We talked about mountain biking. We talked about hiking. We've talked about more programs for children around tourism. So I really enjoyed reading this particular report, and I just want to once again congratulate Travis Anderson and his team for the great focus on tourism for Sault Ste. Marie. Bringing to my question, the item, there was a mention about, again, the plan for the waterfront. Through you, Mayor, to Mr. Anderson, if I read it correctly, this particular amount of money is going to be for phase 1. And if I just want to make sure, so phase 1 is basically the drafting of the blueprints. What is it actually entailed? I just want to have a better understanding.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth. So to be clear, what I'm have put in my report is that we were recommending that the portion of funds that we have identified from this year's map be collected would contribute to the detailed design for phase 1, which includes the urban beach, the destination playground, and the river pool. As part of that work, the overarching goal is to get it grant ready. We've heard from council to look for alternate source of fundings. We've heard that loud and clear. We're doing our best to limit any potential impact to the ratepayer. And in order to do that, we would like to use the municipal accommodation tax to get us into a position where we have the detailed design done. We have permits available, and refined cost estimate, all of which are requirements for future grant applications.
Okay. And just adding on to your comment about grants, do you know how many grants applications are you going after? How many grants right now? Out of curiosity, you must have some identified already.
All of them. No, I kid. We've been in conversations with NOHFC. It's likely that I'll be back at a later meeting to discuss some of those discussions, as well as a plan for advancing the waterfront design. Certainly engaged with FedNor, NOHFC, and others. And it's worth noting that, I think there's a lot of excitement from the various entities.
Okay. And refresh my memory. Let's say we get our wish list. Let's say that phase one, the beach, the river pool, and so forth, and playground. Let's say that we get all this. How much is the over price tag again?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, at this time, the cost estimate is $17 million. The detailed design, as part of that work, we're hoping to refine that cost estimate and obviously look for cost savings where possible while maintaining the scope. I should note, just as I will be coming back, that the dollar value that I have listed for detailed design is not fully inclusive. There will be, as we advance the project along, additional costs beyond what I've stated here, but that will come out at a future meeting and future report.
Okay. So if I understand this correctly, it will come back to us with more of a detailed cost. So hypothetically, you'll probably have an outline how much the beach will be. You'll probably have an outline how much the floating pool will be, how much the playground will be. Is that the objective?
That is the objective, correct.
Okay. And just to clarify, so once it comes back to us at council, then we as council can say, definitely we want the beach, or definitely we want the playground, but we might be leery about the pool. Like, can we pick and choose then at one point?
I'm not in a position to tell you what to do. So yes, that is correct.
Okay. And the other question is, so I believe the funds that collected, as you mentioned, is again, is the municipal accommodation tax, which is MAT, municipal accommodation tax. And this was collected from 2024, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And can you again remind me, the money is always used more for tourism, or you mentioned your report, it says playground equipment as well and lighting. I just thought it was for tourism, pure tourism.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, the funds collected from the municipal accommodation tax can only be used for tourism marketing and tourism product development. The work that's being proposed at Wishart Park is part of a broader tourism product development initiative, which includes lighting and playground equipment to transition that park to an outdoor adventure park.
Okay. And that's important for viewers to know at home, because sometimes when you hear the word park, some constituents might say, great, Snowden Park needs new equipment or needs pickleball resurfacing. And constituents might say, oh, great, we can use tourism money for pickleball resurfacing, but that's not really the case, is it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, no, that is not always the case. It has to be specifically linked to a product that we're trying to advance as what we term a destination driver, generally a product that will draw people to the area or a trip enhancer. If in your case, there are a series of courts that we would be looking at upgrading as part of a tournament that would draw people, then those certainly would be eligible. But if they're just conventional neighborhood courts, it may not be applicable.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Okay. Thank you for all the clarification. That's all.
Anyone else on 718? Councillor Hollingsworth, other items on consent?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. I had Councillor Gardy next on consent items?
Yeah, just, I think it's 7.23, the Goose Management Program.
Go ahead.
I think it's something that a lot of the public will be looking forward to, us managing the geese around town. I just had one question. It said near the end, it said it's recommended that a qualified service provider be retained and that it looks like it's going to cost upwards of $70,000 per year. And then it mentions that there are no implications associated with this report. However, a service level increase of a request of $70,000 will be included as part of the 2026 budget. I'm just trying to get clarification. I know it's not a ton of money, but if the report suggests that the cost would be upwards of $70,000 per year, I take that it'll probably be maybe $80,000 per year. So I was just wondering why the request is only coming for 70. I'm sure there might be a reason for that. I was just looking for clarification through you to Mr. Perry. Oh, there he is. Sorry.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Gardy, 70,000 was kind of the average that we saw the other municipalities using. Some obviously were more and some were less. So we thought that was a good number right in the middle, especially since most of these service providers are from Southern Ontario. So they'd have to come a little further to provide this service north.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Gardy. Anyone else on Goose Management? Councillor Caputo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of questions for Mr. Perry. We're talking about cost and Councillor Gardy brought up 70,000 per year. Is there, in other municipalities, has there been a cap on that? Like after a few years, does the goose problem, go away? Or is this something that we're talking about investing in for like perpetuity?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo, I definitely recommend looking at the goose management program for at least a few years to see if it makes a significant difference for those goose populations. Some municipalities have elected to make some modifications to their programs as they have seen success or a lack of success in some of those implementation.
Okay, and municipalities here in the north, I think we can all agree, usually suffer more with the goose problem. So have you seen municipalities north have success?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo, I believe most of the municipalities that we included in this report definitely did see some success with the goose management program, mostly through just the continuation of the program.
Okay, comment if you don't mind. I just want to say thank you to staff for putting this report together. It's really well put together and a ton of information. I think that taking the waterfront assets back and allowing our community members to be able to enjoy them a bit more freely is going to pay off, tenfold or more. So I appreciate it, and I'm obviously in support of this, and thank you again for the work you've done here.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Councillor Spina?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Perry, you may not have exact numbers on this, so just in general. I know we currently deploy a number of methods for goose management, whether it's the fencing that gets put up, the trees that get planted, the decoys. There's also a piece of equipment that is used to clean the grass at soccer fields, etc. Can you tell me roughly what it costs per year to deploy that equipment? And of course, cleaning of the sidewalks and the pathways through Bellevue Park, through Foster Drive, down on the boardwalk, all that. Do you have a rough estimate on what that costs us every year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Spina, the material costs are relatively low, at about $1,500 a year. Staffing hours, we're looking at about 2 FTEs for goose-related cleanup and maintenance that way. And then at the beginning of the year, we're looking at about 3 weeks of staff time just installing the fencing, and then maintenance of that fencing, we're looking at about 8 hours a week. So there is some relatively significant staff.
So it's an extremely significant cost. If you're looking at 2 FTEs, you're upwards of 5,000 hours per year on that project.
Yeah, so this is going to be through the summer months, obviously, so we'll use students for a lot of that, so the cost could be a little bit lower, but they are still significant.
Right.
That's work that those summer student staff could be doing other locations as well.
Right, so that was my next question is, could you reallocate staff to other more important duties that we would need. Not to suggest this is not an important topic, but there could be other more meaningful and impactful things that they could be doing.
That's exactly what we'll do.
So in theory, we could realize a cost savings or at least maybe cost neutral if we were to reallocate resources properly and implement this project.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Spina. Councillor Dufour.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a question through you to Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, how does the contract for the goose management services work? Is it kind of like having a subject matter expert on retainer? Or is there a set scope of work for these services?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, I think we'd do it as a request for proposal and then have the goose management provider basically provide a recommendation on how to proceed with their price, and then we would select the proponent that we're most suitable with.
Okay, great. Once selected, will we be able to add to that scope, potential reviews of upcoming plans, designs, just for feedback on how landscapes can be crafted, especially around the waterfront, for capital investments going forward to make sure that hopefully geese aren't a big part of those investments?
Absolutely. We'll report back with the success of the program, and we could also look at other future modifications.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Dufour. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to, I guess, Mr. Perry. When you were doing this report, did you reach out to our sister city across in Michigan who basically have the same problem? And if you have, can you highlight what they may do, what practices they implement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, we kept it Canadian specific, Ontario specific, just because the regulations are Canadian specific for geese management. So we focused on that.
Okay. And just for the viewers at home, just to confirm, tonight we're not actually saying we're going to be spending this money. It's my understanding that this is coming back at budget time. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll bring it forward at budget as a supplementary request.
Okay. And a couple other questions. Out of our whole entire city, can you give us an idea where the most of the problem is? Is it Bellevue Park? Is it the soccer fields? I believe there's one area that's a little more prone than others.
Through Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, we'd focus on the waterfront parks and the boardwalk. So that'll be Clergue, Bellevue, and then the boardwalk proper, as most geese tend to be near water for most of their time in Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay, so hypothetically, if we did go with this program, it sounds like you might just focus on those areas with this service and not the soccer fields?
That's where we'd recommend.
Okay, so $70,000 for more closer to the water, including City Hall.
Yep.
Okay, and obviously that includes just our property. So as you go further down St. Mary's Drive, it would not be including that.
That's right. We'll focus on city facilities and property.
Okay. Two other questions. Can you elaborate more on the landscaping? So I think if I read correctly, there'll be special hedges that would be planted. Is that correct?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth. When geese are molting, that means they lose their feathers for flight, typically around their nesting periods. They're not able to get over any barriers near the water, so they typically go to water for safety. So when they want to come back to land to feed and to, carry out their goose-related activities, they have a hard time doing that when there's physical barriers there. So we'll use the short snow fencing, and we'll also use like plantings.
Okay. Two more questions. Once they do fly, they will fly over these barriers though, which happens now. Hence, they still mess up the areas.
You're right. And that's where that goose management program kind of is more valuable, because it uses other implementations that are more effective for goose deterrence.
Okay. And are you doing any methods now, such as what we call those kites? You see the kites along people's waterfront property. They look like crows, and they move and they fly when it's windy. Have we tried any of those inexpensive methods yet, just to do an experiment?
Yeah, we've used some inexpensive methods, coyote and other predator decoys, reflector type devices. They tend not to work for a very long time because the geese get accustomed accustomed to them pretty quickly.
Okay. So if we employ this program, we won't be using the coyotes because we tried that already.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. And just a comment, $70,000 hypothetically, but we won't know for sure until you go out to tender. Okay. Our infrastructure is aging. I feel strongly that's a lot of money when infrastructure resurfacing of pickleball courts, and I think is important. So it'll be an interesting conversation in November. Thank you for your hard work on this.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Bruni?
Mr. Mayor, and through you to Mr. Perry. I guess Councillor Hollingsworth asked the question regarding, it's only going to be at Bellevue Park and the boardwalk, and there's no consideration with Strathclair or Elliott Field. I mean, we do have issues there in both locations, but
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, staff can definitely consider expansion of the program if that's council's wishes. However, the locations near the waterfront are typically where you're going to see the highest concentration in numbers of geese. And the other locations, like the soccer fields, there typically are, more opportunities to deter the geese just with activities there.
okay.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Anyone else? Councillor Scott? Popular topic.
Thank you, Mr. Sorry. A lot of goose talk tonight. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Perry. Is there a concern, this is Councillor Bruni's question made me think of this, that perhaps focusing the activity on the waterfront will actually increase the goose activity in the other areas that we have concerns about and actually make the problem worse?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Scott, I have to admit I'm not a goose expert per se, but I would imagine that if we're deterring geese in one location, we'd expect them to turn up more in others.
Okay, I don't have any follow-ups. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. We are on Councillor Gardy still. You have other items on consent.
That was quite a honking conversation. I'm good.
Lest we be accused of being quacks. Councillor Vezo-Allen.
I can't outdo that. My first item is 7.2.1, the Sault Ste. Marie Police Services MOU. My question is to Ms. Shell. In terms of the MOU with the shared services for financial reporting and assistance, my question would be, and I think it's really imperative that in terms of budgeting, and while I appreciate that we do get consolidated reports from police services, is there an opportunity for us to work with the police services financials committee to make sure that Division 2 is a separate item? I think it's really critical that we keep Division 2. In the report, it was over, $1.06 million with all the renovations and rent, and that's not something that was part of the operational budget. And I will say we are definitely seeing a difference in our downtown. There's been a lot of good collaborative work through Canadian Mental Health Association, through social services, and just wondering if that is something that we can make recommendations on in terms of determining, rather than when you take a look at it, that as a bulk item as to, this is rent and maintenance, having it, the main division on second line and Division 2 and sort of the allocated resources there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councillor Vezo-Allen, at this time, the Division 2 isn't a separate sub-department, as we call it, but it is definitely something that we'll take note of, and in our conversations with the police finance, we'll see if that's something feasible that they may be able to do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Nothing else on that item.
Thank you, Councillor Vezo-Allen. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. I know a lot of work has gone into the MOU and back and forth discussions, so I feel that we are, how can I say it, in a new chapter, which is wonderful. Is it appropriate to ask if we in the future are going to receive an update on where the police board's going? I just want to make that comment to look forward to having an update on the police board.
Councillor Hollingsworth, the police board, the Community Safety and Policing Act structures the composition of the police board. There are either 5-member boards, 7-member boards, or 9-member boards. And ours is a 5-member board. And in 5-member boards, the composition is 2 persons appointed by the province and 3 appointed by council, 2 of which are drawn from council, and 1 of which is the mayor, unless the mayor chooses not to be. So the mayor is a mandatory member of the board unless the mayor chooses not to be. We've had a number of councillors sit on the police services board over the course of this term. Councillor Vezoellen, Councillor Spina, Councillor Bruni, and now Councillor Bruni and myself are still on there, as well as 1 independent community member, which is Nuala Kenny currently. Has been other people previously. And right now there are 2 vacancies at the provincial level, and they will be appointed by the province.
Okay, great. Thank you for the update. And out of curiosity, do you know when over the next month, or hard to say?
Unclear.
Unclear. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else on 7.3? Councillor Dufour?
No questions, Mr. Mayor, just a comment. It's really nice to see this MOU come back to us so quickly and in time, in my opinion, before the police board will be coming to present any of their 2026 budget questions and presentations and whatnot. So it's, I'm glad to see us following the advice of the third-party experts at KPMG who, you know, initiated this shared services review. I believe it was about 18 months ago. So it's really nice to see it back here and hopefully setting a great tone moving forward. Appreciate all the work.
Thank you, Councillor Dufour. Anyone else on 7.3.1? Councillor Caputo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say I appreciate the answers coming forward from the board and from Chief Duguay. I think that a lot of confusion has been created around police services and the board and what has been going on in the wake of the overage being discovered by city staff. Between the unexplained $3 million overage and then resignations from the provincial appointees, public letters from members of the police services, the public, and 1 member of this council, it seems the public really has nowhere to turn. I feel like people are very confused. And I believe it's our duty as public servants to clarify as best we can and to break down for constituents exactly what has happened and where their money was spent. Because at the end of the day, we can talk about this all we want, but the money of 75,000 people has been spent here. And what we're seeing happen due to that overage is other things being cut. We saw just at the last meeting, the active transportation master plan be brought forward. And to the best of my knowledge, prior to this overage, you know, that plan was supposed to be funded over the course of about 7 years and is now being pulled to closer to 15. So these overages don't come without a penalty to the community. So I think that the best way to explain it is to just ask a couple of questions. So I'll ask CAO Ver. The police chief and the board have stated $942,000 was due to being over budget in overtime. Do you know what former Chief Stevenson budgeted for overtime?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo. I do not have the budgeted amount for police overtime in front of me, and I'm just looking to see if our CFO does have that number handy. Okay.
Okay, that's okay. I see the the monthly Sault Ste. Marie Police 2024 monthly all overtime PDF here. And to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, the overtime seems pretty consistent. I see here that in 2024, it was at 1.165. But in other years, we're maybe talking about a $200,000 or $300,000 variance. Am I reading that right?
To you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo, all I can tell you is what Police Services has indicated in that their budget was significantly lower than what their actual overtime history was. They were saying about $1 million is their average overtime, and the budget was significantly lower than that. I can't comment on their operations or how things are managed. That would have to be police that would have to do that.
Right, okay, but in this chart here, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24 comparative, it does look like overtime is always over or close to $1 million. It just doesn't look like there's much of a difference. So I'm confused as to how they're over 942,000. I guess what you said, you can't answer it. They have to answer it.
Correct. And what I understand from our conversations with them is that what they budgeted, they cut it way lower than what their actual trend was in order to come up with the levy amount that was requested.
Okay. My other questions were when their overtime budget was exceeded and why anyone didn't know about that, but I would imagine that we don't have answers for that either.
Caputo, Councillor Bernie, I think has the number that is budgeted for overtime.
Oh, good.
To Councillor Caputo, to keep our taxes as low as possible, the overtime was reduced to $250,000, which at the time helped city, but not knowing what would come up with the instances that happened with police services, crimes, etc., the overtime did escalate very quickly. But it was reduced to 250,000 last year, or 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Okay. Okay. So that, can I make a comment on that or no?
Yes, but we won't get into Councillor Bernie. I think as a long-serving member of the Police Service Board had that information, so shared it, but we won't get into a back and forth there between the two.
No. Yeah, so that just, to be fair, I feel like that is a really irresponsible thing to do when you're trending over $1 million in overtime every year. But I understand trying to keep taxes low and keeping things in line. It just seems that, now saying $942,000 over when we're normally seeing $1 million a year in overtime and only budgeting 250 does seem irresponsible from the chief and the board, but I digress. I think that at least people now can see where the money has gone. So 942,000 over the budget for overtime, 717,000 went over complement. I did want to ask Mayor Shoemaker, was that going over complement approved by the Police Service Board or just by the chief?
Not sure. Councillor Caputo is the answer. Those decisions were made before I was on the board.
Okay. It is my hope that people understand that the way the city budgeting system works, city staff has worked very hard to remain extremely lean from what I have seen in my time on council. the budgets, the amount of the city share of the levy has been under the rate of inflation. And then we see the police budget come in, and this is not unique to Sault Ste. Marie, and this is not a knock on Sault Ste. Marie Police, but the cost of policing across Ontario is just getting absolutely out of hand to the point that municipalities just can no longer afford the inflation. But I think it's important that people understand that council does not have a final say in picking apart the police budget. The budget is brought to us. We either say yes or no. And it must, under the new act, we are supposed to ensure safe and adequate policing, I believe or safe and effective policing, I believe is the term that is used. I think it's really important. We just hired a new chief. The chief has all authority to ensure what is safe and effective policing for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. I hope that he takes that very seriously, and I'm sure he will. If I could, I would love to say that the police are the only entity that get to do things like this. We don't have safe and effective bars for mental health, homelessness, making sure people are housed. There's no bar for any of that. Our CAO at Social Services has no say in who gets housed and who doesn't and how that happens. They're given a budget and they work within it. I am hopeful that that starts to change because we're not addressing the root causes. We continue to feed the machine of policing, and then we see this problem of mental health, housing, homelessness continue to grow, and it is a beast. And we're not feeding it properly. And ultimately, it's feeding into this issue, but I digress. I look forward to working with this new board and hope to not see overages like this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Couple of things on that, just for clarification. It's adequate and effective, just to be sure of that. It's as I understand it, from reviewing the legislation, the board's responsibility to ensure adequate and effective policing, which is then, a direction essentially that is given to the police chief. And you had referred to it as the police chief's budget. It's the board's budget. So while the police chief and the finance staff there would bring that budget to the board then brings it to council and presents it to council for essentially an up or down approval, as there's no ability of council to change specifics within the budget. There's only an ability of council to change the total amount approved, which a number of years ago, a couple of years ago, I think it was, council attempted to do, and the majority chose to approve, I think, what the board was asking for and not what council wanted to change it to. So that's, my high-level understanding of a couple of clarifications there on some of your comments, Councillor Caputo. Councillor Bruni? Nothing further? Councillor Gardy?
Further to Councillor Caputo's attempt to sort of help clarify what went on or didn't. Through you, Mr. Mayor, and maybe to you, Mr. Mayor, if you were to not to rehash everything, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm asking you is my recollection correct that we kind of got a number that the board was suggesting they'd need for their budget, and we expressed, could you come back to us and shave some off, correct?
Yes.
That's what transpired.
That's what transpired.
Yeah, so to your point, Councillor Caputo, so to Councillor Caputo's point, it didn't make any sense. It was sort of an artificial kind of, we'll budget 250, but it's always been about 900 or 900,000 or a million, and that's where we found ourselves. And she nailed it, right? It's the cost of of policing that is, skyrocketing year over year probably across the country, but across the province for sure. And it's something that municipalities are going to need assistance with. And if not, boards are going to struggle with these types of decisions, and people may be put into positions where they kind of have to do what they got to do to get a number in, and then the number doesn't really work. So because you come back so many $1 million over budget. So I don't know if anybody has a delegation with anybody responsible for public safety in the province at AMO, but it might be something to kind of reinforce there, if not, whenever we have the opportunity. Thanks.
Councillor Gardy, there are 2 delegations with the Ministry of the Solicitor General, one with all of our northern counterparts in Sudbury, Thunder Bay, North Bay, and Timmins, and then one just specific to the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Other questions from council on 7.3? Since we're on the topic, I wanted to congratulate our new chief, Brent Duguay. I, as the mayor, I'm certainly looking forward to working with him in that capacity. I, as a board member, am looking forward to working with him in that capacity as well. Long-time public servant and long history of police service for himself, for his dad, prior to him. And I think that it'll be a good chance for renewal at the Police Service Board and in the relationship along with this MOU between the board and council. So we are on Councillor Venezuelan.
My next item and last is 7:10. I think it's absolutely wonderful seeing this on the agenda and having some possibilities at Pointe du Chene, and whether it's whomever can give us an overview and maybe some timelines of when the request for proposal will come out. I think that would be really great for our community to hear and to celebrate.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Venezuelan. Thank you. I think staff are excited with council's approval to proceed with this initiative, issue the RFP. We expect that to be issued in the next month and a half. We will utilize the initial template that we had for the former Sioux Area Hospital site. We've made some improvements and adjustments to that. But having this area utilized in the community, it really is a gem, and we're looking forward to receiving proposals. As mentioned in the report, the city is open to receiving proposals that would see the use of this area, whether it be a trailer park, wellness retreat, a destination resort. I think we're leaving it open to the private sector to come forward with different ideas that council can review and make a decision on to reutilize this area and put it into service for the community and tourists to the Sault Ste. Marie.
Mr. Ver, would the RFP include the opportunity for collaborations? So perhaps you have 2 business entities, one that may want to have that kind of private glamping retreat and the other having, a more family-centric playground. So will that be included in the RFP that it can be more than one organization, business applying for that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Venezuelan, absolutely. So we would welcome collaborations. As you can see from the map that's included, we're talking about the traditional trailer park area as well as land that's adjacent to that trailer park area. So there's a sizable piece of land that can be utilized for these new services in the community.
Yeah. And in terms of the issues that we had with the potable water, has that been resolved to your knowledge?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Venezuelan, the testing is occurring with Algoma Public Health. Transport Canada is paying for the filtration through services with the PUC, so the water is testing safe for consumption. That will continue into the future. So certainly the new operators of that site could look forward to receiving that filtered water. I will say, depending on the amount of water they need, depending on what is put forward, we may have to have further conversations, but for the immediate term, as per its previous use, the water is there, filtered and ready for service. City staff are in continued conversations with Transport Canada about remediation of the source of that contamination. And those conversations are ongoing now.
Okay. And when the RFP is ready to be published, I'm assuming that our comms team will send out a press release and it'll be available on our website, and it's something that all of us can share within our social networks?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Vezo-Allen, absolutely. We'll be making sure that we're promoting this as far and wide as we can.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And it's such great news for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vezo-Allen. Councillor Dufour.
Thank you, Mr. Bear, for that excellent summary of what I'm sure is going to be a really exciting project. I just had one follow-up question to Councillor Vezo-Allen's. How long does city staff expect to keep the RFP open for? Like, is this something that we're going to allow for like a 4 to 6 week response period or longer? What's the vision there?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, our thought is to give this a good amount of time in the market so people can really, sink their teeth into developing their proposals. I don't think, a great deal will happen over the winter months. So my thought is that we'll see this probably, we haven't finalized the number, but my thought is we'd be looking at, 4 to 6 months to have this open in the market so people can really look at the property, develop their business plans, and submit fulsome proposals for council approval.
So, but obviously with enough time to close the RFP, evaluate the proposals, and get a recommendation back to council before or in enough advance of the spring season that work can start to commence?
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anyone else on 710? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Vezo-Allen, other items on consent?
Nothing.
There are councillors with items on consent. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through Mr. Mayor, I don't know to direct this because it kind of touches on 712 and 717. But it was brought up by a constituent, so I'll just ask it broadly and maybe we can direct where it would go. But it has to do with the fact that it appears in the report in 717, the John Rhodes has the highest energy use of all of our facilities. But then we're looking to remove the heat recovery system in 712. Do we know if including the heat recovery system would actually, like how much that would offset in the costs for the energy use that we're seeing reported in 717? Like, does anyone have that answer?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Scott. So in regards to the offset of energy, I'd have to get the assistance of Ms. Cormier. However, I can say that we did remove the heat recovery from this particular project, but it is still on the radar for future.
Okay. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Scott, I'll just take a moment to find that figure for you.
Yeah, sorry, it just came up today.
If my memory serves me correctly, you know what, let me just take a minute to find it.
Absolutely.
I don't have it right in front of me, but it's in the audit. The spirit of time, I'll get back to you on that one. Okay?
Perfect, thank you. That was everything on those two items.
Anyone else on either 712 or 717? No? Councillor Spina. Consent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similarly, it's kind of two items, but really I don't intend to ask the questions twice, so I'll say 7.1 and 7.5. And through you, I'm assuming to Mr. Ver. First, I do appreciate your report, very fulsome report. Thank you for that. There's a lot of information in there. I really do appreciate the timelines and the update you put on all those projects. I think it's very clear to all of us in the room here and probably to most people at home. We are coming very close to budget time, and this is going to be, in my opinion, probably the most difficult budget that we faced in many, many years. Certainly in this term of council, as a result of things that have occurred over the last while here. As we look at your update here, Mr. Mayor, there's a lot of projects that are on pace, on target. How is this going, how are we going to be affected here when we look at the infrastructure? In particular, I'm looking at the infrastructure part of your report that talks about trail networks and expanding things like the hub trail into the west end, sidewalk replacements, road replacements, fleet repair, wastewater management, and city waste management. How are those projects going to be affected now? Are we going to lose significant funding from those projects, or are we at risk of losing that? And I recognize we're still here to set the budget in November, but are these things that are, so to speak, on the chopping block that we may lose funding for and lose the momentum that you've gained thus far?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Spina, I think, there's no question that we are facing some budget headwinds as it relates to the costs for police services, the deficit that was there, as well as, forecasts going forward. In addition, we're seeing some increased costs and related increased costs of service as results of tariff implementations, costs of goods going up in general. That's putting pressure on the budget. I think for this year, obviously a number of things that council had approved, they're tendered, their capital projects are underway. Moving into next year, we'll have to work with council, make some difficult decisions about the service levels that we want to entertain as a community, and looking at how we fund those different priorities. I think there will be impacts in the near term. We're hopeful that as staff, we can work to identify those priority projects that council will support. In addition, certainly as we've done this year, would be looking to really see what funding is out there and how we can take advantage of funding from higher levels of government to try and help offset some of the costs of the priority projects and enable us to continue to fund those good projects that we want to build in the community.
Thank you for that. I know, as Councillor Caputo stated earlier, city staff operate on a very lean budget from what I've seen. There's not a lot of wiggle room anywhere to do much more than what has been responsibly allocated and responsibly forecast into the future. One of my colleagues brought up resurfacing pickleball courts. These are continuous projects that we get requests for from the community, and I think that they're fantastic investments in the community. Are these projects at risk right now as a result of the current climate that we're facing financially here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Spina, I think the short answer is yes. I think we'll have to prioritize. I know there's, a number of requests from different areas in the community, parks replacement, pickleball courts, things like that. We will work as staff to come with recommendations for council, and we'll have to make those tough decisions at budget time in terms of what projects will move forward. And there likely will be some delays in the near term with some projects as a result.
Right. So a lot of the things that we have assigned or tasked or asked you and staff to complete may no longer be on target when we revisit this in Q4 potentially of 2026. Sorry, 2025.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Spina, that's correct.
Okay. And similarly on to 7.5, Mr. Facey, you've done a great report here as well. Thank you very much for that. And you've also indicated that I believe the report indicated one deficit in the last 20 years of the municipality. Is that correct? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot Mr. Facey doesn't have a microphone yet. My apologies.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I haven't earned the microphone yet. The last deficit in the last 20 years was 2016, and it was a very insignificant deficit, I think less than $100,000. So this is the first significant deficit in over 20 years.
Okay. And looking at your report, I believe it said somewhere in the realm of 2.95 to 3.45 million. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
And where is that coming from? Where is that number made up of?
Anticipating, I believe, $1.5 million. The other main there in this equation is winter control, which is anticipating a deficit of $2.1 million, subject to Mother Nature acting accordingly and no over budget. There's some other areas within the report. The two main.
Okay, so this is in addition to the previous deficit from police services, now an additional 1.5 for this year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, they
That's good news. Thank you for that. And my follow-up to that is what mitigation strategies are in place now? I appreciate that this is a projection. It is not a final number. So what mitigation strategies are we implementing now to reduce that potential deficit?
So just before, you've gone from 7.1 to 7.5.
Correct.
Has been pulled from consent. So I'll give you some time to think of that, Mr. Facey. There is a motion that's going to be introduced here from the floor on just that issue, which is why.
Okay, so perhaps I can withdraw that question for now and allow the motion to come forward and we can speak on it then?
Yes, but we'll get through the rest of consent first. So
perfect.
We're done
I will.
7.1.
Okay.
Are you done 7.1?
Yeah, done 7.1.
Anyone else on 7.1, which is the mid-year update on the corporate strategic plan? No? Okay, I just wanted to comment that it was a very well done report. And kudos to Mr. Ver and I think Ms. Pino, or Ms. Vecchio, sorry, for preparing that. So that was well put together. Councillor Spina, other items on consent?
7.5?
Okay, that's not on consent. Other items on consent?
Oh, that one's accepted already. Okay, perfect. Then no.
Okay. Other councillors with items on consent? Okay.
So we have a motion by Councillors Zagordo and Spina resolved that all items listed under date August 11, 2025, agenda item 7, consent agenda, save and accept agenda items 7.5, 7.8, 7.9, and 7.11 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? That carries.
That brings us to agenda item 7.5, second quarter financial report. I have a motion by Councillors Zagordo and Spina resolved that the report of the Manager of Finance dated August 11, 2025 concerning second quarter financial report be received as information.
And then, Madam Clerk, I had drafted a amending motion or maybe an alternate motion of some nature, just to go to your point, Councillor Spina, on strategies to mitigate the potential deficit.
Just read it and then see if you get it.
Okay, sure.
Resolved that council directs staff to report back as early as possible on a more detailed and accurate figure for salary gapping, implement a 6-month gapping for all job vacancies that can be gapped as determined by the CAO, implement a travel and training freeze for any non-mandatory training or travel and remote first option where available, unless otherwise approved by the CAO, review any capital projects that were approved at budget that have not yet been awarded to determine if they can be referred to 2026 with a recommendation brought to the CAO for approval, review and report on any operational efficiencies that can result in savings and not affect mandatory service levels.
So to your going to your questions, Councillor Spina, and I think the motion will show up in eScribe in a minute. The criticism, I think, of the police overages in last year were there that of the police overage last year, sorry, that shouldn't have been plural, was that it came to council and the police board after the end of the year. This is different. First quarter financials projected a deficit. Second quarter financials are projecting a deficit. The number is becoming more refined with each quarter that passes. These are all steps that the police board implemented for 2025, which nothing could be implemented for 2024 because the deficit had already accrued entirely. But for 2025, these steps that are set out in this motion were taken at police service. And I'm suggesting, or I've drafted a motion essentially mirroring those steps for the city's budget to try and mitigate any deficit that might occur here. So that is in eScribe if there is a mover and a seconder for it. Councillor Spina and Councillor Dufour. So we are on 7.5. You can ask additional questions. We're on you, Councillor Spina.
No, I'll save Mr. Facey the walk. That the strategies are, I think that's sound. I think that's appropriate. I think that's a great action for the city to take. Knowing that city services, especially, under the direction of Mr. Ver, are operating in a very lean way already. To find more efficiencies will be difficult, but I look forward to Q3. We've already seen a significant reduction. I think Mr. Facey said 1.9 to 1.4 from Q1 to Q2. That's incredibly impressive.
It's a police service
Right.
definite reduction. Yeah.
Right, that's very impressive. I very much look forward to Q3 and see where that's at and see what the city can do to chip into that as well. I think that'll be fantastic.
Other councillors with questions on 7.5? Councillor Hollingsworth?
Thank you. Your resolution and your ideas, I think, are dead on. Through you, Mayor, I'm not sure, I guess to Mr. Ver, are we in the process of hiring anyone right now? And I can't remember if you said, maybe it's to the mayor as well, are we going to do a hiring freeze temporary?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, the city's, always typically has positions posted. So some of those jobs that are out there, with this draft resolution, we'll look at gapping any positions that aren't, mandatory or required. Any positions that we can gap, we would implement a gapping process in this next 6 months to the remainder of the year.
Okay. And just for clarification, does that mean if someone just recently was given a job offer, we still have to honor that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, yes, we would honor any job offers that have been extended.
Okay. And the other question, just going back onto you probably don't have this figure, but out of curiosity, in the last, this year, how many new FTEs have we hired?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, I wouldn't have that number right in front of me. You'd have to get that for you.
Okay. And so again, I just want to ask this question to assure those staff members that might be on probation that they are still secure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, that is correct. And I should say, the number of new FTEs the city hires, the CAO and staff operate within an approved complement of council. So we're not adding new positions at any time that council hasn't approved. Any new hires that we have would have had this year would be as a result of someone retiring or leaving the corporation.
Okay. And one final question. Are there any contracts that are being negotiated right now? Any new contracts that we could basically put on the shelf, knowing that we're in a deficit?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Basically delay until we are in a better position.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, just to clarify, you mean contracts for services or contract? Yeah, that's part of the resolution. Certainly, we would look at anything that isn't required that could be postponed to 2026.
Okay. And hopefully maybe if we have to purchase any sand, gravel, and we can maybe do a joint purchasing with surrounding communities that could help lower our costs.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, that's something that our team is always looking at, any ways that we can reduce costs and find efficiencies. So certainly that work will continue.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Anyone else on 7.5? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, we are voting on the additional motion.
What I did actually was take the motion to accept the report as information and then add your.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's a single amended motion, which is open for vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries.
That will bring us to agenda item 7, which is the RFP for the tabulator voting solution. I have a motion by Councillors Caputo and Hollingsworth. Resolved that the report of the manager of purchasing dated August 11, 2025 concerning the provision of a tabulator voting solution and support services as required by city clerks be received, and that the proposal submitted by Dominion Voting Systems at their proposed price of $136,315.75 plus HST be approved.
Councillor Hollingsworth, you asked to have the vote tabulator motion pulled. You are the seconder on it. If you want to remove your name for that, I'm not sure.
No, I just clarification because constituents have been emailing me and calling me, so I just want to be their voice. Through you, Mayor, maybe to Ms. Karen Marlowe, or maybe to our city clerk. I just want to clarify, if I read the report correctly, it says something about required by the city's clerk's department. So is it mandatory that we have this? I read in the report, it says required by the city clerk's department. So is it mandatory that we actually have this in place for the next election?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth. No, it's not mandatory provision as to what we use for vote counting. We did bring a report to council in September of 2024, asking for direction to issue the RFP for tabulated voting,
Yeah.
tabulated counting.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it just sounded like it was almost like mandatory, like maybe the municipal act or someone's saying municipalities.
Somehow.
Yeah, okay. Just to clarify, so we just talked about deficits. We just talked about our budget. I'm not sure who to direct this to, but how can we accommodate this request when we're in a deficit? Where are we going to pull this money from?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I will direct that question to the Deputy City Clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Shoemaker, to Councillor Hollingsworth. We do have an election reserve that we'll be drawing from to cover the costs. At this time, we have enough funds in our reserve. We are looking at a comprehensive budget for the election, and we'll bring forward any deficits that we see for the election through the council report or through the budget process.
Okay, and just for the viewers at home, I think I read that the cost of this is going to be about $138,715.
That's correct. The provisions in the RFP include not only the vote tabulators, it includes accessories, including ballot printing, the podiums, all the different supplies that we require for that. So it's not just the machines itself.
Okay, and for the viewers at home, did we have something similar at our last election? I received some emails from constituents saying they do remember a tabulator. Can you elaborate, please, to help?
Yes, for the 2022 municipal election, we did utilize the tabulators at our approximately 40 voting locations. We had a specific vote tabulator for advance. So if someone came to City Hall for the advance voting, there was a vote tabulation unit there. We did use them for our mail-in ballots as they came in, and also for our long-term care facilities. So all the ballots that were used or that were complete for the 2022 municipal election went through the vote tabulation machines.
Okay, and just a couple other clarifying. Technology is a wonderful tool, but it changes all the time. So we can use this in 2026, but hopefully we don't have to buy something brand new again in 4 years after that, because technology changes. Do we have any reassurance that if we purchase this, this will be good for a number of elections?
This particular RFP is to lease the units, not to purchase.
Good clarifying. So it's just to lease them. So it's going to cost us $138,000 approximately to lease them.
Including all the accessories as well, yes.
Okay, hence it's not worth buying in your opinion?
I think as technology changes, like you said, over time, we need to go from election to election to see what the most appropriate method is. I know that we did a comprehensive review the last election as well, with looking at manual counting, tabulation, and even online voting. So there's certainly a number of factors and a lot of options to look at. And the clerk's office continually looks at the trends out there for elections, and will review for 2030 what might be appropriate at that time.
Okay, and it's my understanding when we tried it for the last election, it went well. There was no breakdown of the systems?
I think...
As in the technology?
Thank you. Yeah, I think I could speak on behalf of the clerk's department to say that we found it a very successful method to complete the election. We certainly, from a time efficiency, it was very easy to adapt, and we worked with the vendor to come up with all of the potential problems that might happen. They did a lot of in-house training. We certainly worked with Frank Hutchmilio and his team in IT to look at all of our logic and accuracy testing. It went pretty seamless in my opinion, and I think from our standpoint, it will be a seamless rollout for 2026.
Okay, and final question, I should know the answer, but so if we You're basically asking us to say yes to this money tonight and not to defer it to budget time.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Just to clarify, we will be bringing a report to council in the next month or so as to where the budget is going to be, because there will be a budget ask in addition to our reserve for 2026.
Thank you.
Anyone else on 7.8? All right. That is open for vote. All in favor? Any opposed?
And 7.9 was accepted from consent because of Councillor Vezo-Allen's conflict of a motion by Councillors Caputo and Hollingsworth that the report of the Director of Community Services dated August 11, 2025 concerning the Sault Ste. Marie Downtown Development Committee be received, and that the terms of reference for the Sault Ste. Marie Downtown Development Committee be approved.
Councillor Dufour.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple questions through you, I believe, to Ms. Maione. Ms. Maione, can you tell us a little bit more about when do you expect the Downtown Development Committee to have their first meeting and to do the call out for membership and all of that good stuff?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, we plan to do the call out very soon, so probably in the end of August, and based on the number of applications and the review by the task force to choose those members to bring to council for approval will probably be within the following months. And then the first meeting will be a little bit after that. So there's no defined timeline, but we anticipate it to move as quick as we can.
Okay, so we anticipate to have this committee in place prior to the January 1st transition of services from the Downtown Association to the City of Sault Ste. Marie.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, we hope to have that in place by then, yes.
Okay, great. I think that, you know, having at least one meeting prior to the transition, I think could be really, really helpful. I know there's a number of things that staff have been working on to bring to budget in terms of service levels for the downtown as this transition takes place. And I think that getting comment from this committee, from the business owners, and from also our own staff members who are involved in this work, I think that would be really helpful information to have. Most helpful in time for budget, I would say, but you know, I don't want to tie anyone to a specific timeline, but I think that in order to have a really smooth transition, getting all that information on the table for those budget decisions would be best. Thanks.
Anything to add there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, yeah, that certainly is staff's goal, and I know they're working on the budgets now, and we'll have them in time for this budget consideration.
Excellent.
Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ms. Maione or Mr. Vera, I'm not sure who will be able to answer this, but if a member of the current Downtown Association were to apply and be accepted, would they have to vacate their space? Or could they, I know they feel pretty passionately about, you know, seeing things through. Would they be able to continue? And would the creation of this committee and effectively end the other? Or are we keeping that one till the end of December?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo. Kind of a two-parter there, I guess.
Yes,
So
sorry.
the first one would be, off the top of my head, I don't see why, you know, an individual member couldn't be in the wind-up of the Downtown Association and participate on this committee. If anything did come up where there was some kind of conflict, they could declare as it relates to our Downtown Development Committee. And then with the resolution that council had passed, we did call for the wind-up of the corporation. And so that corporation will be coming to a conclusion. And I know there has been some talks, from my understanding and the conversations we've had with the Downtown Association, about their plans to wind up. And I know they had talked with us about some of the concerns about the money that they may have left over and ensuring that it's used towards the downtown, in particular in the area that they served, given their members paid into that. And certainly we assured them that that would be the case. So we're talking to them about that transition. And I think so far things have been proceeding, at a good rate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to maybe Mr. Ver. Can you just elaborate on this new committee once it's together? Can you just elaborate a little bit on their responsibilities? When I read the report, such as number 5, under duties and responsibilities, the committee is expected to diligently consider and provide recommendations in matters deferred to it by council. So can you elaborate on that more? I guess what I'm trying to get at is this group's going to be creative. So I'm under the impression that they also could brainstorm and bring ideas to council. It's not just one way. Is that right? But it sounds like it's one way right now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, certainly that is the intent. We want a group of passionate individuals that are excited about the downtown to make recommendations on how we can improve. The end goal for the city, for this committee, is to have a vibrant downtown. And when you look at the responsibilities of the committee to, foster collaboration, advise city council on downtown-related policies, programs, strategies, serve as a central point of contact for municipal matters, we really are looking for these individuals to give us their thoughts and ideas on how to improve the downtown and continue the momentum that we've got going in the downtown. And, I think we're eager to have a great crop of participants on this committee that can help us achieve our goals.
Okay. Just talking about programs. Basically, the couple emails I did receive from merchants already is they're feeling that merchants, unfortunately, are leaving Queen Street. And so do you see this committee taking the responsibility on how maybe we can attract retail back to Queen Street?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, certainly I think, two things. I think we are seeing new businesses open up in the downtown. And there's always been a transition of businesses in the downtown every year. I think ideas that this committee brings to the table, or broader community members filter through them on how to improve the downtown, will help us to attract businesses in the long run there. The other thing I would say is our economic development team does work to attract businesses and work to help new startups and place businesses in the downtown. And I think we've even seen examples from the market where businesses have started in the market and then expanded into business storefronts in the downtown. So there's a number of initiatives underway, and I think it's something we will continually work at to ensure we've got a good business mix in our downtown.
Okay. And to add on to that idea, I love how you said that there's a lot of businesses that start in the market that are now looking for the storefront idea. In Detroit, Detroit City has purchased storefronts, and they basically allowed these businesses to move into city storefront. Can you see the committee maybe, brainstorming with that idea? Are you looking for ideas like this from this committee?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, absolutely. I think any idea is welcome. I know that the Downtown Association had piloted a program to look at vacant storefronts where somebody could, utilize their space on a short-term basis to try out a business. It didn't really get off the ground at the time, and in our conversations with the Downtown Association, in part that was because the landlords, had interest in their storefronts, and so, there was a regular kind of list of businesses interested in renting, so they weren't really interested in committing to the pilot idea. But with that said, we're open to any ideas and would look at anything that could help advance the downtown.
Okay. And 2 more questions. I think I read that the Downtown Development Committee is up to 13 members, but it doesn't mean that's going to be 13 members, because 13 seems like a very large committee.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, that's correct. It is up to 13 members, and we'll basically gauge that once we get the responses and the number of people that are interested.
Okay. And last point is the person that has reached out to me has been in the downtown as a retailer for over 35 years. And this particular person is concerned that there's more service businesses opening up versus retail, meaning that there's more services for jobs, career services versus the retail merchants. So he wanted me to pass on that please focus on a good balance. And maybe in the future, you can talk about a ratio. Where does retail ratio stand with the social services and the service businesses that are now on Queen? This person feels like it's unbalanced right now. Thank you, that's all.
Councillor Spina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment on this. I'll be brief. As this transition is happening, I really want to commend the efforts of the current Downtown Association and staff. I've seen them working very diligently and very tirelessly and performing their duties admirably as this transition is continuing. And I want them to know that that has not gone unnoticed. Their professionalism that they've maintained through this has been very good and has had certainly a positive impact on the businesses around there. So I really wanted to commend them on their professionalism and their continued dedication to their jobs at this point. So I really wanted to thank them.
Thank you, Councillor Spina. The councillors on 7.9. I think it's good that this work is getting started or not getting started, that it's well in the throes of happening. And this is an important step towards that complete transition from the downtown focus being on just the Queen Street merchants to the downtown as a whole, as the city would, define it more broadly. So with that, we can have a vote on the matter. All in favor? That carries.
Uh, 7.11 was accepted on account of Councillor Gardy's conflict, but those are bylaws. So we'll separate, or a bylaw, separate that out under bylaws. So we move to agenda item 9.1. Pedestrian crosswalks. I've got a motion by Councillors Dufour and Spina, whereas pedestrian crosswalks have been installed throughout the community, commencing with the first ones being installed in 2019. And whereas in certain instances, flashing lights that identify a pedestrian crosswalk are installed on the roadside pole, and in other instances are installed both on the roadside pole and the overhead arm above the traffic lane. And whereas the Ontario Traffic Manual indicates the standard for pedestrian crossovers in Ontario is a flashing light on the roadside pole. And whereas it is an added but not required safety precaution to have a flashing light also installed on the overhead arm above the traffic lane. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the City of Sault Ste. Marie requests staff to review and report as to the feasibility of all pedestrian crossovers installed going forward, having both flashing lights on the roadside pole and flashing lights on the arm above the traffic lane. And further regarding the integration of overhead flashing lights into existing pedestrian crossovers as funds are available within existing operational budgets.
So just let me get to that one. I wanted to thank the mover and the seconder, Councillor Dufour, Councillor Spina. This was brought to me by a constituent who marked on the difference between the crosswalk at Queen and Lake versus the crosswalk at Queen and Churchill, which are only, 100 meters apart or so. It was the first I had noticed it, so I thought there should be a standard. I know there was a reason and an explanation given by the engineering department as to why those two were slightly different, but I do think it would be important, or it's an important safety feature to have uniformity to the degree that it is possible at these crosswalks, so that people are used to coming up to them and seeing whatever it is that they are used to seeing, and that is consistent across the city. So Councillor Dufour as the mover.
Yeah, just to add, Mr. Mayor, I have witnessed several instances of drivers going through the pole-mounted flashing lights, where it is pretty clear that, you know, it wasn't a driver who was necessarily being malicious, but obviously just did not see the pole-mounted lights or did not know what the lights meant. This has been an issue that I've seen despite a number of public education campaigns that our comms team has done a really good job on. And, you know, this is an issue that I know I've heard about as ward councillor for a few years, long enough that I think that moving to a higher standard for the ones we have and the ones that we put in, I think is really the responsible thing to do. I think it makes it a lot easier for all different types of drivers to have that light in their line of vision as a way to signal them to slow down and look for those pedestrians. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Dufour. Councillor Spina?
Agreed.
You. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you. Councillor Dufour and I received a lot of complaints at the Churchill and Queen crosswalk. There was a lot of near misses, people we know, myself included. But I have to say this came up in the accessibility committee, and it has been an ongoing conversation, especially for folks with mobility devices. They're apprehensive to use the crosswalks because people don't see the pole lights. So the overhead light does make a big impact. So I want to thank Mayor and my colleagues, Councillor Dufour and Spina, for bringing this forward. It's really important.
Councillor Caputo?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who put this forward. I think that we're seeing our, like Councillor Vesualen said, some of our most vulnerable folks in the city going through these crosswalks, including little kids at, you know, near schools and, you know, crossing to go to the Manzo splash pad and things like that. I think one of the most important things we can do, we brought it forward for school safety zones, and now for this, uniformity is so important to affecting, you know, the driver's brain, I think, and the easiest way to get things across. So I was really happy to see this come forward. I know it might seem like just a little change, but I think it can really enhance safety. So again, just thanks for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. With that, seeing no further questions, all in favor? Council, before we go to 9.2, I know we voted on the consent agenda, but I am remiss in noting that Franca McKeag and Mike Wozni are here on 7.20, 7.20, the Canal Drive Development Project. The report has been voted on and approved, Ms. McKeag and Mr. Wozni, but since I failed to get to you when I was intending to, if you had anything to add to the report, I'd be happy to give you the floor. Okay, thank you. Nothing further to add. So that, Council, brings us to
Agenda item 9.2. A motion by Councillors Vesualen and Dufour, whereas the 5-year capital transportation plan presented to City Council on July 14, 2025 has within it the reconstruction of Church Street in 2027. And whereas traffic flow between the Uptown Great Northern Road area and the downtown Queen Street area currently contains one-way traffic flow on Pym Street and Church Street, with Church Street heading north and Pym Street heading south. And whereas new multi-unit housing on Pym Street and the development of new residential units in the Old Sioux Area Hospital Renal Building may increase traffic numbers of Church Street. And whereas prior to incurring the costs of reconstructing a road which will maintain the current traffic system for another generation, it is prudent to review the suitability of the traffic flow system to determine if it meets the community's current needs. Now therefore be it resolved that prior to the reconstruction of Church Street being undertaken, staff review the Church Street, Pym Street one-way traffic flow arrangements, as well as the sight lines at the intersections of Church and Wellington, Pym and Wellington, and any other relevant intersections in the area to determine if there is a more efficient way to move traffic between the downtown and the uptown areas of Sault Ste. Marie.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Councillor Vizual and Councillor Dufour for moving and seconding this one as well. This really arose as a result of the 5-year capital transportation plan that was brought to council at the last meeting. You know, I think there are a number of different ways that this traffic issue can be considered. It's always seemed odd to me that right at the bottom of Pimp Street Hill, traffic forks and southbound traffic ends up going, you know, to the east down Pim, whereas northbound traffic stays on the western leg of Church Street, traveling northbound to Great Northern Road. So there may be a more efficient way to look at that. And before we reconstruct Church Street in its current configuration with its current sight lines, it's probably prudent to look at it so that we're not dealing with it 10 years from now, wishing we had done it when we had the opportunity. So Councillor Vizualan is the mover, if you want to add to anything.
Certainly. I just have a question for Mr. Tonazzo. Prior to the multiple housing unit 110 Pim, which is definitely a benefit to the neighborhood, and, you know, thank you to the Persia Group and the family for doing that development. Mr. Tonazzo, was there a traffic study done? I know there wasn't a change of zoning per se. Could you elaborate on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the zoning was in place for that development. It did require a minor variance, which came to the city in 2017, and then there was a site plan approval. At that time, we weren't requesting traffic studies as part of minor variances or even site plan approvals. For a project like that, now we are asking for traffic studies as part of a site plan approval, but at that time we were not.
And I just want to be clear that we are asking for staff to review. We're not asking for a consultant to come in. And I would ask for staff also to take a look at the fact that we need to look at pedestrian safety as well as traffic safety regarding those corridors. On Church Street, a lot of people, typically, there's a lot of times where you see people going the wrong way down Church, not Pim so much. So I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. We're seeing a lot of housing density. We're seeing growth in that neighborhood, which is fantastic. And people are utilizing not just their vehicles, but also their bikes, walking, buses. So I'm happy to move this and just ask that staff take a look at a holistic approach as to how people are moving about, not just in vehicles. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vizualan. Councillor Dufour?
Nothing further to add.
Council, any other questions or comments on that one? Okay, seeing none, we can have a vote on the matter. All in favor? That carries.
Bring us to bylaws. I have a motion by Councillors Caputo and Hollingsworth resolved that all bylaws under item 12 of the agenda under date August 11, 2025, save and accept bylaw 2025-121 be approved.
All in favor?
And a motion by Councillors Caputo and Hollingsworth resolved that bylaw 2020-121 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of the amending agreement between the city and the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation for the YMCA boiler replacement project to include the installation of a new HVAC unit be passed in open council this 11th August 2020.
All in favor? That carries.
And a motion by Councillors Caputo and Spina resolved that this council move into closed session to discuss the potential disposition of land to support housing development. Further be it resolved that should the said closed session be adjourned, the council may reconvene in closed session to continue to discuss the same without the need for a further authorizing resolution.
All in favor? That carries.
And a motion by Councillors Segordo and Hollingsworth that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? That carries.